I now,
You are banging that.
hey, you know what? As the mayor, I get to bang the gavel. I now call the closed session.
Say no.
Hey, you know what? I now call the Ripon City Council closed session to order. Yeah.
Wait, you gotta open that.
Do we have a public comment?
There are no public comments, Mr. Mayor.
All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and close the public comment section of the closed session. And we will,
Wait, don't you have to open up the regular meeting first and go to closed session?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Jane will make you look at it.
Yeah, that is true. All right, so item 1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, significant exposure. I now call the Ripon City Council meeting for August 11th to session. So, Daniel, you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. Be happy to. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stay standing for the invocation. Mr. Zeidebar.
Please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come to you this evening as council members of the city and representatives of the city, and we would ask that you would reside over this meeting, that the decisions made here this evening would be of the best interest of this community and for the furtherance of your kingdom here in Ripon. Lord, we just ask that you be with everyone during this difficult time with COVID, and that you would get a handle on this pandemic, so that we can get back to some normalcy in our lives. And we just ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Lisa, will you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Leo Zuber. Mike Verstucha.
Present.
Dean Euchre.
Here.
Vice Mayor Daniel DeGraff.
Here.
Mayor Jake Parks.
Here. Okay, we will now open the city council meeting up for public discussion. Lisa, do we have any comments from the public?
There are no comments from the public.
Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead and close the public discussion section of the city council meeting. We will now open it up for approval of the minutes.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second
We have a
both.
motion and we have a
Is
second.
that both?
Huh?
Both?
Both.
Both of
Yeah.
them, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
mine's a
both.
second for
Yeah.
both as well.
We will now move on to the approval of the agenda. Anybody have anything they want to pull?
Yes,
What would you like to pull? Councilman Zuber.
been saving this up for 2 months.
So the whole thing?
You didn't want to
I
disappoint
only have
us.
two, 1.1A and 1.3E.
1.1A.
1.3E.
1.3E.
Okay. Anybody else in the council have anything they want to pull?
Nope.
All right, seeing none, we will now move on to the approval of the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
So we will now move on to the approval of the consent calendar as amended. So we have a mover and we have a second. All right, Councilman Zuber, 1.1A.
I'm assuming I'm reading this right, that for the first month of 2021, we're $136,000 ahead of where we were a year ago,
That's correct.
in spite of everything that's been going on.
We have not seen the impacts of COVID yet. This does not represent the March sales tax numbers per se.
This is prior to March.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
because I was looking at that thinking, holy
Yeah.
smokes.
Right. We would expect, I think we were talking about this morning, we would start seeing the impacts of COVID in September.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And,
That's a good sign of where we're starting.
yeah, no, I'd rather start out
Yeah.
ahead than behind. 1.3E, from reading the staff report, I'm not sure I understand what's happening here. What is this? Are we getting the property or is SSGID getting the property?
SSGID is getting the property. So this is related to the Alpine Climbing Gym development. And also it actually also is property that is near Boat Country. So for that section of the road, SSJID has, they own the property for the canal, the 50-foot property for the canal. City actually owns where the access road is. And the retaining wall and slope easement that we're going to dedicate to them. So it would be the city of Ripon dedicating the access road and then a slope easement that we would put the retaining wall and landscaping on.
So this is on the canal side of Garrison.
Yes.
So
Canal
there's
side
going
of
to
Garrison.
be a wall built and the road maintained, and then SSGID gets all that.
Yes, it'll look very much like what's by Canal Street
Right.
Grill. We'll
Okay.
extend that down as far as we can. We got to transition to the road by Tractor Supply that they don't align perfectly, but yes, it'll be very
Right,
much
okay.
like what's by Canal.
Then I will move to approve 1.1A and 1.3E.
Second.
Okay,
If
we've
I
got
could
a
say
mover,
something
we've got a
real quick.
second.
Mr. Mayor, may I say something real quick?
All right, moving on to 2A. This resolution authorizes transfer of enterprise funds to enterprise capital reserve funds. Mr. Warner, this you?
That's me, Mr. Mayor.
Ah,
This is our annual resolution that we do at the end of each fiscal year. We analyze each enterprise fund to transfer money to the enterprise capital fund. We analyze the landscape districts for any deficit balances, and we transfer general fund dollars to cover those. And we analyze the CNG station's current year net revenue, and we transfer that to the CNG station capital reserve fund. So this is the resolution for the transfers for the 2019 and 20 year. We're seeking authorization to transfer to those three that I talked about. And in addition, we have noted that the 2019-2020 budgeted transfer of $193,000 from the general fund to the general fund capital reserve for future capital replacements was not made and will be reconsidered later this year with the 2020-2021 budget amendment that we'll do. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
does the council have any questions? Councilmember Stucci?
Yeah, so Lisa, the question I have is, for an example, take water operating. The ending balance would be 926, but our target's 820. Is it because you see that there's going to be some additional money that'll draft it down? That's why you're keeping it higher? In other words, our target's 800, why we have 926 in there?
So we're currently doing a utility rate study, and I think that this is going to be adjusted at that time. Our policy is that we just transfer the entire cash flow for the year. And so our ending balance matches our beginning balance of cash, even though the target is less than that. But if council so desires, we could transfer down to the targeted cash.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just counting on paper, but it's water, sewer, and then we're short on the garbage from Target. Does that mean we're not collecting enough in the garbage fund?
And that will be in the study that's coming up as well.
Okay, all right, okay.
And I think what happened early on, this was a 5-year study that we started. This is the final year of it. But when the revenue was exceeding what was projected, we only initially transferred the amount that was recommended by the consultant at that time. So there was an additional surplus that remained in the operating fund. We didn't know what year 2, year 3 was going to look like. So as time went on, we realized that, and as we've talked about before, the rates have been adjusted to reflect this as well. The increases that were initially proposed or approved have not all gone to full fruition. So since that time, we have started transferring the entire surplus amount to the enterprise funds. But like Lisa said, when they do this study, they'll consider this balance too and adjust that in the future rates.
We need to. Because your target is based on something, right? Like 3 years of something, 2 years of something, or whatever.
Yeah, he has a target that's based off bond coverage.
Yeah, okay, all right. That's all I had.
Okay. Yep. Anybody else in the council have any questions? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion, we approve the resolution as
We
presented.
have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and we have a second. Waiting on the vote button to light up for me.
Why don't you give him some help, Daniel?
Oh, there we go. Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, you're waiting on me. Okay, perfect. Right, moving on to 2B. Ms. Rose, this you?
Yes.
There we go. 2 for 2.
So the city receives street and road maintenance revenue from a number of different sources, including highway user tax, SB1, Measure K, and LTF. These revenue dollars are tracked separately in different funds. So during the year, when all of the expenditures for the street and road, when all the expenditures for the street and roads are tracked through the street and road operating fund, we have to transfer dollars from these other sources to cover any deficit that may result in that fund. So at the end of the year, we analyze the expenditures and transfer dollars accordingly. This resolution is for the transfers for the 2019-2020 year, and we are seeking authorization to transfer $214,000 from the COG LTF fund, $691,000 from the SB1 fund, and $506,000 from the highway user taxes to the street and road operating fund. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Move it over to the council. Anybody from the council have any questions?
So those
Councilman
three
Zuber.
amounts equal the 1.4 million that's at the top.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
We have a
Second.
motion and we have a second.
I had to take out my calculator and do that too.
Right. 2C. Let's see, determine if any of the council members will be attending the virtual annual conference from October 7th through the 9th.
Are they even having that thing or is it?
It's
gonna be a
virtual.
It can be
thing?
virtual,
Virtual.
yeah.
You get to show up on Zoom meetings all day.
I move that we send the mayor to it.
I'll second that.
In
The mayor is
person.
already indisposed at that time.
So what are they charging for that?
$50.
Oh.
Probably the license from Zoom. Yeah,
Save the $50.
That's what I say.
yeah. Yeah, for this year,
I'll second that.
I mean,
Who wants to listen to
Yeah.
that crap all that long? Whoop. Sorry about that.
yeah, you better hope Mr. Qualls is not,
So
you know,
when
paying
is it?
attention here. The 7th through the
So
9th
it's
of
before the
October.
election even. so
Yeah.
I'm not,
Okay,
Well, in time of difficult budget period, I think we should save our money.
besides, we'll probably find the Zoom thing and go anyway if we want to.
Exactly.
all right.
So do we need a
So-
motion or does it just die from lack of action?
Stacy?
Yep. Is she on there?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, she
you're muted.
Okay, if there's no second, then it does die for lack of a second.
We don't even have a motion
We
yet.
don't even,
Yeah, we don't
my
even have a
question is, do we
motion.
even have to make a motion? If we just ignore it, we can't do anything, right?
No, well, you should be making a motion as because you've been presented with a resolution, so you should make a motion to determine whether or not you want to approve of the resolution or, excuse me, reject the resolution.
I'll move that we reject the resolution.
And I second that.
We have a motion and we have a second. So for the motion on the floor. Okay.
Interesting
I
to see
know,
how many
not-
will actually show up to the damn
Okay.
thing.
Kevin, point of inquiry, when was the last time we had a motion to reject something? Yeah, I think it's been a long time.
History.
All right, public hearings, 3A. This is a public hearing to set the amount and give approval of the levy of the annual assessment for the Ripon, City of Ripon Lighting District.
I can introduce this, Mr. Mayor. This is a very similar process that we talked about with landscaping maintenance districts. Unfortunately, when we were doing that process, we didn't have all the information from the county to go through the process with the lighting district. So that's what's in front of you tonight, is to go through that same process. What is being proposed right now is no changes to the current assessment.
Okay. As this is a public hearing, we will now open it up to members of the public for comment. Ms. Rose?
None.
None? Seeing none, we will go ahead and close the public discussion section of 3A, and we will open it up to the council. Does anybody on the council have any comments?
My only question is, can we use red and green so it looks like Christmas? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Isn't the $42 amount set by some in other words, we couldn't charge more. If this was a deficit, we couldn't charge more than 42 bucks, right?
That's right. We would have to go back out for a vote.
For a vote.
Right.
But at this point, if I'm reading this right, back up there, at 42 bucks, we are $39,000 ahead.
Yes, the only thing I would add is, it's a little, yes, sorry.
Well, and when does that payment go away? Because that's 40 grand, so that's going to kick us ahead too.
We have 2 more years of that
Yeah.
municipal bond payment, so that'll help. You know, as you recall, there's been some years where this account has been negative.
I don't know.
So we are still trying to work with PG&E to be able to bring back to the city council a more complete fiscal outlook and projections with this account. So we'll work through that. I think we're getting close on being able to do that. You're right. With what's being shown right now,
Okay.
it covers the expenses.
My other question is for the table on page 131. Let me see, 11, 17. It shows that we have 20 LED lights in town. There are more than 20 LED lights over in my neighborhood. Does that somehow need to be updated?
It does. PG&E did that LED project a couple of years ago, and this table does not reflect those additional LED lights. So we'll make that change
Okay.
for next time.
Because I was expecting to see a bigger number. When I saw
Yeah.
20, I said,
Right.
that can't be right.
Right.
The map shows
Yeah.
it correctly though, right?
Mhm.
I believe so. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, at this point, we have almost all induction for the city-owned lights and LED for the PG&E-owned lights.
Thank you.
All right, so do we have a motion from the council?
Yeah, second.
So we have a mover and we have a second. Okay, so moving on, 4A, this is the second reading and adoption. This ordinance adds chapter 3.40 municipal debt policy to the Ripon Municipal Code. Mr. Warner, this over to you or?
There you go.
This, Ms. Rose?
Yeah, so this is something that we talked about last time. There was changes made, which we show those changes and track changes based off the discussion we had at the last city council meeting. So this is for city council's second reading and adoption.
Councilmember Stucci, you good with it?
I'm okay with it. We talked about it earlier.
So it got all the comments in there except for the forfeit vote, but that's a legal kind of thing or something we can't do. So no, I'm fine with it. In fact, if nobody has any other comments, I'll make a motion. We accept it as modified or changed or revised.
I'm good. We have, Mr. Zuber, did you want to comment on it? You good? All right, we got a motion and we got a second. Moving on, 4B, second reading and adoption. This ordinance amends Title 16, fencing and screening to establish more standardized setbacks.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Mayor.
Zeidebar, I'm gonna call
This
on you
is the
now.
Second reading and adoption. As you guys know, we've been kind of slowly sneaking up on this one. I think we've got the final version in front of you. There was just a minor tweak in regards to the screening standard, I think was the final point. So that is in track changes that was in your staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any regarding that.
I just want to make a comment that, you know, I asked them at the last council meeting, did it include all your stuff, Leo, that you wanted in there? And they said it did. So, yeah, so. No, I know, but I wanted to make sure that it was in there because you had made some comments as well. We both made some comments and so.
Perfect. All right, do we have a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion. We waive the second reading and adopt the ordinance.
We have a motion and we have a second. Okay, moving on. Discussion items. 5A, approve and authorize the mayor to sign encroachment agreement with Astound Broadband LLC.
I'll take this one, Mr. Mayor. We have been approached by Astound Broadband. They also do business as Wave. You may have heard them as Wave in the past, but they are interested in expanding their fiber network throughout the city and providing internet services. In order to do that, obviously it's a substantial commitment on their part to install infrastructure throughout the community. What we've done and worked out with them is to enter into this, essentially it's a master encroachment agreement that lays out certain requirements for them as they expand their infrastructure. And then when they come in to do individual projects, we'll have them do an encroachment permit as we do with all other construction projects. But the biggest thing with this agreement is how do they install their facilities, whether they're overhead or underground. What's included in this agreement is that if where they want to install their facilities, there is currently no overhead utilities on that street, they would install their facilities underground. If there is existing overhead facilities, they would install their facilities overhead as well. And then the agreement also includes at some time in the future, when those overhead utilities are being placed underground, they would also be responsible, Wave would be responsible to also underground their facilities at that time. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember
I
Stucia?
have two questions. One is, are they very big? Do we know what their financial statements look like, that if they need to do that in the future, they got the capacity to do it?
Yeah, I'm not sure from a fiscal side, from a technology side. I know Dan Brandon had taken a look at them and talked to other customers of theirs. And I think even from the city of Ripon, we're looking at transferring our services potentially at some point to Wave.
And then number two, what's the franchise fee going to be?
So they are bound by the, see if I'm saying this right, the PUC, and they don't have specific franchise fees they pay for the city. None of the internet providers do. They all go under a state franchise.
So Charter doesn't pay us a fee?
Only for cable services, not for internet.
Really? Yeah, I thought they paid to be able to service us. They'd have to have a franchise fee.
They do for cable,
Our
TV.
Verizon fee we get is just for the telephone then.
Yes.
It's not for the internet they provide. I didn't know that. Well, who made up those dumb rules?
Your California legislature.
Really?
Kevin, their facilities, it's just for fiber optic internet service, right? There's no wireless communications or anything that they're proposing to install or.
That's my understanding, Dan. I don't know if you have more information about that, but that's my understanding.
Yeah, that would be the case. There, at this point, it doesn't look like there's anything wireless. They would be all doing just a pure fiber
Not a
network.
future plan for their, or at least the agreement wouldn't allow like if they had to, a 5G network somewhere that was like what they proposed before, putting stuff all over on telephone poles and stuff. They're not.
That would be my question. I don't mind.
Yeah, undergrounding fiber optics, one thing.
I don't want them to turn around and start installing 5G stuff and it's gonna make us look like goofus.
I guess as long as the agreement protects us from that portion of it, or at least gives us a chance to look at that before they do that.
The 5G would fall under our current municipal code and the requirements of that if they wanted it to expand to that. But my understanding is that that's not what we're talking about.
So if they wanted to expand it in my neighborhood or your neighborhood, they got to dig through the ground and
They use trenchless technologies where they'll put in a borehole and then they bore underground. So it's less invasive.
do we know where they're planning on going first?
Your neighborhood.
You know, I haven't had any problem with Charter lately, so I don't know if I want to change.
They can come to my neighborhood.
My
You
understanding,
get bad reception.
my understanding right now, that they're really focused probably on the larger type clients of where they're starting at, larger businesses.
They've been installing stuff out by McDonald's and in that area. Aren't they already in there?
They have had some expansion in some areas already, yes.
Without an agreement?
They came in for individual encroachment agreements and they put everything underground. I think where we started, when we started talking about the overhead, we thought, let's put an agreement together that spells this out. And specifically that they will be responsible to underground it in the future if everything else is.
And it
put
gives
underground.
everybody an alternative when charter has a problem.
I get so many people that are upset that they don't have an alternative. The only thing they can get is Charter or Verizon or whatever happens to be at their house, and then they're.
We almost have to hand it to these guys to come in and put the infrastructure in, because in the
They're
past,
gonna
nobody
come
wanted to do it.
Post-development and come put in stuff underground and try and service the residential neighborhoods. That would be quite something.
Well, and the good for them with this, if there's a new subdivision built, they'll just dump their lines at the same time.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, you can see just the investment in infrastructure that's required to change to a new service provider. It's not as easy as just,
Not cheap.
flipping a switch. You're actually installing all the cables that go, all the
Yeah.
wires that go along with it.
I think it's a good deal.
All right, so do we have a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion and we have a second.
That was quick, Dean. You got to go someplace.
Dean's ready to move.
Whoops.
All right.
Yeah, you almost had a record.
Lieutenant Sauer.
I told you 6:34.
I'd just like to acknowledge a local business, 901 Hazmat Cleanup. On July 27th, they donated their services to disinfect and sanitize 16 of our patrol vehicles. The donation of the services totaled $2,400, and the department wishes to thank them for their contribution in helping keep our staff and community safe. Also, we have an area of responsibility community meeting tomorrow. Due to COVID, we're going to have it virtual. It's going to be at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, and it's going to be some of the officers that are responsible for that area, and it's going to be on Facebook Live video, and all you have to do to go on there is just go on our webpage or go on our Facebook page and click on the link. And they can they can either comment on the Facebook Live video to ask our guys questions, like a normal meeting, or they can actually send an email in as well. And then after the meeting's over, our staff's gonna address some of the questions if there's any and concerns, and go from there. So it's the first time doing it virtual, so Mr. Brandon's gonna be there, so I think it will go well.
You said it's one of our sections. Which one is it?
Area 3.
3.
Yeah, and that's south of Highway 99 and west of Vera Avenue. But of course, anyone can go, even if you don't live in that area, you can go into the feed, so.
Thanks.
Mr. Peace. Forgot
Yes.
about you. You were hiding over there. From me.
I was trying to get a microphone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I did have a couple quick things. Just so everyone's aware, as of August 1st, we did change the recycling center hours. The Ripon Unified School volunteer groups have taken that operation over. So now the center is open on Mondays and Wednesdays from 3:30 to 6:30, and then on Saturdays from 8 to 12. So just wanted to make sure everyone's aware of that. Also, we're kind of right in the middle of our large item pickup program. Just wanted to kind of remind the public that is available. They can call, they can email, or they can sign up online with the Public Works Department to schedule their items to be picked up, and that runs through September. And then our water conservation numbers for June and July compared to our 2013 numbers, down a little bit, but for June, we were at just about 20% under, and then in July, we were at 17% under. So that was it.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Zeidevar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple items. I did put a City of Ripon marketing brochure on each of your guys' chair there. That's the final printed version that was finished. So we have hard copies of that. Actually, I think Jane is working on getting that onto our website as well. And the chamber's got a stack of those copies as well. So that was a lot of hard work from a consultant that helped out with that. I think they did a great job with the pictures and everything, and hopefully something to get the word out about Ripon being more business friendly. And yeah, I think it was just turned out to be a really nice art piece for us for marketing. Secondly, really quickly, we did roll out a temporary outdoor operating permit application. The chamber is also kind of helping out with reaching out to businesses on that. It's a very simple form that we've been trying to deal with businesses with, and also even some of the churches that are having to operate outdoors with their services. You do see a couple that have already submitted their permits, and we're trying to get those turned around very quickly for people. Natural Path, if you've been by there, they've set up in a couple parking spaces up front. Pizza Plus and the Ice Cream Emporium have done a permit to operate just by moving some tables outside. We've been reaching out to several other businesses here in town, and we continue to do that. So at this point, we have about 3 active permits, but I need to get around to some of the churches and stuff too who are having outside services. It's really more or less just to cover them from a standpoint of if somebody does complain of stuff with our municipal code. Obviously, we passed the emergency ordinance that allows us to do this during a pandemic. So it's a 0 cost permit, and we're just trying to help businesses survive during this time. So that's about it.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Warner.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Zuber.
I had a couple follow-ups. One is the recycling. Weston Elementary School has been working this month. It's going very well. They get enough people out there to keep things. They did say that they appreciated the heck out of having Dana out there the first day, because he was, to them, invaluable as far as showing them the rope, so to speak, and keeping them organized. But it seems to be working very well. It's freed up our city staff to do other things, and the parents are very happy, because basically all they do is now make sure people put their stuff in the right place, and keeping it clean and nice is a whole lot easier. So it's been very nice. The other thing is with this outdoor permit process, could we get a report next month again as to how many there are? I'm not sure I care about what businesses, but in talking to Kelly, that's turning into a big thing for her. And so I'd just like to know how it's going and how many we've put in place and that sort of thing.
That's certainly, I think we want to do more of a weekly report just via email, but I will report at the council meetings as well.
Councilmember Stusha.
Yeah, the recycling center, I'm glad we opened up when we did. I know that when I went Monday, it didn't go so smoothly, but yesterday went extremely well. So things worked out much, much better. And I'm glad you're taking cans and plastics. And so I think people are happy again. So thank you for making those changes.
Councilman Euchre.
Nothing to report.
Vice Mayor DeGraff.
Of course, I've got something to say. A couple things. James, I know we talked about it a while back. I saw they were repairing the storm drain inlet on the entrance to Stouffer Park. Had a washout and just something. I was walking one day and saw a washout, and he had already taken care of it. They had a contractor to come out and repair some of these spots that had issues. So glad to see that got taken care of, and hopefully we won't have that issue anymore. So appreciate taking care of that. Yeah, this marketing brochure, Ken, fantastic job, all your hard work. Appreciate that. It was a little longer process maybe than we would have liked, but appreciate you all your hard work and bringing our economic development committee, the chamber, and everybody involved in that. It was a fun process. Glad to see the final product, and it'll be really great. So appreciate that. And yeah, I don't know how many people, Dan, do we know how many people are listening?
Give me just 1 second and I should be able to tell you.
Yeah, all 4 of them. 5, perfect. Well, to the 5 people that are listening still, thank you for being engaged. Appreciate everybody listening. So that's it. Thank you.
Perfect. And I have nothing to report. And with
Mr.
No,
Mayor,
yeah,
can we please ask Stacy if she has anything to report? She can report out in closed session.
yeah. Oh, my apologies. Stacy, are you still there?
I sure am.
Do you
Yep,
have anything to report?
Nothing to report from our office at this time. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And with that, we will go ahead and close the, Mr. Warner?
Report out from closed session.
you very much, Kevin. So there are two things to report out. The first is that with respect to the wireless key time actions, the council has approved the form of the settlement agreement, and the final settlement agreement would be available for public review after it is approved by the court. And then for the other matters that were on the agenda, there is nothing to report. No reportable action was taken. Thanks for the reminder, Kevin.
Perfect. And with that, we will go ahead and close the Ripon City Council meeting for August 11th. Have a good one, Stacy.